In this video, I will be using the Code of Federal Regulations to retrieve a rule and locate the authority and source statements. I'm going to use the Government Publishing Office's govinfo.gov website to retrieve the rules for Title 12, Part 1005 of the CFR, and these rules relate to electronic fund transfers in the banking industry. To get started, I'm going to use the far left option on the page. It's an A to Z listing of the different publications that are available. So when I click on that, the page will reload. I'll see an alphabetical ribbon at the top of the page. Since I want to use the Code of Federal Regulations, also known as the CFR, I'm going to go ahead and click on C. That'll take me down to the titles beginning with C, and from there I can choose the Code of Federal Regulations. I'm just going to bump up the screen size a little bit here to make it easier to see. When we first access the page, we see the current edition for the year 2017 at the top. The CFR does get published on a quarterly cycle throughout the year. If you want a little bit more information about that, there is a little bit of information up here. It's good to keep this publication cycle in mind because if you're, for example, looking for Title 42 right now, I'm recording this in the month of August, that has not been issued yet for the year 2017. So if your particular title has not yet been issued for the year, then you'll want to make use of the prior year's edition. In the example I'm using today, we're looking for Title 12, so I'm going to go ahead and access the current year, 2017, because that title has already been issued this year. Once the year opens up, you're going to see all of the titles in ascending order, so I just need to scroll down to where Title 12 is located. The plus symbol will always allow you to expand out the option. So basically it's like drilling down through a level so that you can see more about the table of contents for the source. So once I choose Title 12, I then see a listing of the individual chapters that are available. And for each chapter, they are giving me a parenthetical statement that lists the parts included in that chapter, and that's very helpful for figuring out where exactly you want to be. So again, I'm looking for Part 1005, so I need to do a little bit of scrolling. And eventually I get to Chapter 10, and I see that it is contained within the parenthetical statement. From here over to the right, I see an option to download volumes, and that's telling me that both Volume 8 and 9 contain parts that are relevant to Chapter 10 here on the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. I also have the option of clicking the plus symbol yet again and expanding out. For some reason for this individual chapter, and I've noticed this for a couple of other chapters, they list the parts from Volume 9 before the parts from Volume 8, so things are not quite in perfect ascending order. So the parts are in ascending order for Volume 9, and then once you get past the parts from Volume 9, then you see the parts for Volume 8 in ascending order. So just know that sometimes you might have to scroll all the way down through the options to see the actual part you need. So I see Part 1005 listed. I can again click on the plus symbol to expand out or drill down through more layers. But in this situation, I really just want to take a look at the part in its entirety. So I'm going to go ahead and click the PDF button to pull that up. So once again, I'll make this a little bit larger so you can see it better. A couple of things to notice on the page right away. This is a PDF image. It looks exactly the same way it would look in the print publication. So it is giving us the information about when the print version was last reissued. So this is just confirming for us that we are looking at the most recent edition of the CFR that contains the particular title and part that we're interested in. So it's always a good idea to just make note of that. Then I see a table of contents listing out the individual sections or rules that are contained within the part. Once I get down to the bottom of the page, at the very bottom of the column, I see something that says authority. The authority statement is giving citations into the United States Code, and this is referencing all of the enabling acts that Congress has issued that are basically giving this agency the authority to make rules in this area. So this is useful to you as a researcher if you want to go back out into those acts and see what kind of legislation was giving the agency the authority to engage in rulemaking. As we scroll into the next page, there's also something called a source note. Anytime a rule becomes final, first it is published in the Federal Register, and then it ultimately gets republished into the CFR. So this source note is telling you where it was originally published in the Federal Register, and it also gives you the date, which is a good thing to make note of as well. You'll also notice that it says this is the source note unless otherwise noted. What that means is sometimes you'll be looking at an individual section within a rule and it may have been amended at some point, and so you might see some further source information that is specific just to that individual section. And we see that right away with section 1005.1. Once again, it's repeating that reference to the Federal Register, 76 Federal Register 81023, but it's also telling us that this specific language was also amended by the Federal Register in the year 2012.